Welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Jennifer Eller, and with me today is my co-host Mike Hill, our producer Nick Wilson, and then our guest is Bob Burnsworth, who is the director of the new Life Meal Ministry.
Yes.
Yes, welcome. Yeah. So have you lived in Huntington your whole life, Bob?
63 years as of Friday.
So is that a yes or a no?
Yes. I've lived in Huntington 63 years. My dad has been in Huntington 98 years and still alive. So, yes, we've lived here all our life in Huntington County. Wow. So I'm kind of connected route-wise to Huntington County.
Yeah, for sure.
My family's from the Mount Etna area, Lancaster area, Huntington area. So
my mom's from the Mount Etna area.
My mom's maiden name was Searles.
Okay.
Joe and Peg's grocery store.
Yeah. So my grandparents were Vaughn and Edna May Archbold, who owned the sawmill.
Yes, I know exactly.
Owned the what?
Sawmill.
Sawmill, which is now the restaurant out there and canoe riding.
Well, the river Outfitters.
Your grandma and grandpa owned that
back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with her brother or something like that. It was a family thing. So.
And it was really a sawmill.
Yes.
Been a sawmill for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll have to bring a picture in sometime. I have a huge one of my grandpa, one of the great big saws and stuff in there.
My mom was raised on the other side of the cemetery.
Okay.
That's the Searles house residence for all her life. And then Joe and Peg's grocery store is my uncle owned Joe and Peg's grocery store, and my other uncle owned Lancaster's hardware store.
Okay.
So, yes.
Where was Joe and Peg's grocery store?
Joe and Peg's grocery store used to be right downtown in Mount Etna, but now it's on, if you go to Marion on 9, where 9 and 124, that little building, that's where they built a new one at way back then.
Yeah.
It's now got truck lots and stuff on that. Used to be Joe and Peg's grocery store. If you go turn into Mount Etna, the first intersection you come to in Mount Etna, on that corner, there's a bunch of rundown buildings right there. That's where it used to be at.
Yeah.
Back when we had grocery stores in every little town.
Yeah.
And restaurants in every little town, mom and pop shops and everything. And
there's no such thing anymore.
No, Walmart came in and grocery stores
ruined everything. Yeah. That's what I said at small group last night. Walmart ruined everything.
Agreed.
Well, they opened up the easy buy product on high producing and get ready to sell it cheap, and because they could buy in mass quantity, which the mom and pop shops couldn't compete. Period.
Yeah, they killed them all.
Yeah.
Way to go, Walmart. Way to go, everybody that shops at Walmart.
Yes.
So I know you're an extremely busy man with all the things that you have going on your plate, but what do you like to do for fun?
Spend time with my grandkids. I go on vacation with my grandkids quite a bit. I try to get at least 2 or 3 weeks a year in with them. Usually one during spring break and one during the fall break and then one just during the summer. That and just friends, going out with friends on vacation as well. I don't do a lot of in-town stuff. I don't go out. I don't have time when I'm in town, really, with the running the ministry, running a real estate office, coaching basketball at the YMCA. That's a blessing. I love doing that. Been doing that for 5 years. I love working with youth. They're our next generation, and they need to have some background behind them. And a lot of these kids out there don't have any structure in their lives right now. Due to divorce situations and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of crazy. I've been lucky. My mom and dad's been married all their life, and we have the same family people there. And a lot of homes, like now, you look at generation homes, they're lucky they've been there 20 years together as a couple, let alone 60 plus.
Do you have a favorite vacation spot?
I do a lot of times in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Not really one place in Florida. I just like going to the Florida area because I can go to Orlando area and I can be to the Cocoa Beach in an hour. I can be over the other side of the coast in Clearwater an hour. I can be in my down the Keys within an hour and a half.
Right.
Centrally located. Weather-wise, I usually go during October, November, and that's usually the best time temperature-wise. And when it starts getting cold here and snow, since I got paralyzed, snow is not my game. I like to get away from snow as much as possible.
Right.
Run around the wheelchair, walk on the crutches. It's just not the feasibility of the world.
Right.
So, when I got paralyzed, that made a big change in my whole world. So,
yeah. So, I guess you want to start there.
That?
Yeah. What do you want to?
Okay, we'll give you the background on that. So we're going to start out with the background of the history of Bob. Y'all got 5 hours in the rest of your life to sit here. The short and blunt of it all. Graduated Huntington North in 79. Got married shortly after that. Got divorced after that. Got married again. Got divorced after that. Worked for a union sheet metal company in Fort Wayne, which used to be Shamballs now own them. They were a sheet metal company, or Kraus Sheet Metal Company. I got my journeyman, was 2 months out of getting my journeyman card and fell 18 foot off a roof in 1988. Logansport High School gymnasium. Fell 18 foot, broke T12, now 1 vertebrae, bruised my nerve and spinal cord. Which threw me into the disabled population world. then you're going through this whole scenario. Who's going to date a handicap? Who wants to hang out with a handicap? Who's going to be here with this disabled person? And Barry goes, you shouldn't call yourself disabled, shouldn't call yourself handicapped. I am who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use the terminology I want to use. But, when I first got out of high school, you get an adult age, you lose some of your high school friends, then you get married and you lose those more friends. Then I got paralyzed, I lost those friends, then I became an alcoholic drug addict after I got paralyzed in 88. I got paralyzed in 1988, drank and partied until 99. 10 years. Couldn't tell you what I did except for I was in a bar drinking. Mm-hmm. But those friends changed, and when I got saved, those friends changed. 1999, I went to commit suicide. They had been out running around, thought it's time to.
Well, can we back up just a second? So, did you grow up? Was faith a part of your family growing up?
When I grew up,
I'm trying to decide how. Did the fall affect your faith? No. Were you?
I didn't say I wasn't a Christian believer. We didn't go to church.
Okay.
My dad was a self-employed person, worked all the time. My mom was a stay-home mom. Mm-hmm. We had good family background. Like I talked to you earlier, I spent a lot of time in Mount Etna with my family on get-together. We went with my grandma's every Saturday, my other grandma's on Sundays, and we had real tight connection. My grandma married a preacher at the age of 80. She got married to a preacher.
Mm-hmm. My dad at 80?
At 80. Wow. Yes, she married an 80-year-old, and she was 80. They got married. They lived another 10 years together.
Wow.
But we went to hear him preach a couple times. I didn't go often enough to get anything out of it. We went to one of the churches. We went to church one time. We went there, and Dad says, what'd you get out of it? What do you think about it? I said, I didn't know anybody. Mm-hmm. You walk in a total strange environment and don't know these people. Right. So you're like, I don't know. I don't get anything out of it. I don't. Now, I felt there was a God. I know that, but I didn't have a walk with him.
Right.
Or a Christian background behind me, I should say. I didn't have the Bible knowledge or anything behind me.
Right.
Had never read a Bible, never owned a Bible. But I got paralyzed in 88, and 98, I'd had enough with the world that I was about done with it. And a buddy of mine who goes to church, who actually was partying with us every Friday and Saturday night, went to church on Sundays to forget his sins and start all over again, took me to church, and I went there at that point, and then slowly, as progressed, I realized that I had to cut back on drinking, so I went to drinking, just not drunkenness, because the Bible says, "And do not drink in drunkenness."
Right.
So I was safe, I can drink all I want as long as I want to drink. Well, when do you know a handicap's drunk? Is he waddling? He waddles when he walks anyways. Is he falling out of his chair? He falls out of his chair anyways.
Right.
So I had realized that I couldn't live this life because my kids were disappearing away from me. My grandkids were kind of disappearing away from me because they didn't know how to deal with me. Because I was more involved in partying and running and doing that kind of stuff, because that was a way of, I think, if you look down into it, it's probably depression that just took over, and the devil was taking me down the hole. I sit back now and I think about it. I think God and the devil fought over me in 1988.
Okay.
And threw me off the roof. And God says he's yours as long as you can't harm him anymore. So he ran me through the ringer for 10 years.
So leading up to that, because again, you fly through things really fast.
Right.
So I just want to make sure
I talk pretty quick, and I can.
Yeah. So you were married.
I got married and divorced. And got remarried.
Okay.
And I had a daughter with that one.
Okay.
And then I adopted a girl with that woman also from that particular marriage.
Okay.
So I have 2 daughters.
But when you had the accident, you weren't married.
No.
Okay. So in that process, were you alone? What was your support?
I was divorced.
system?
I lived at my mom and dad's house. Okay. At that point, I got divorced. I had a girlfriend I was living with, got paralyzed. When I got paralyzed, my apartment was upstairs.
Okay.
The wheelchair, being new paralyzed, I couldn't walk steps, hadn't got the braces on, so I could do crutches or anything yet. So I had to move back home. So I had the support system of my parents, if you call it a support system.
Okay.
It was a place, a roof over my head, and a place to stay.
Right.
Because my dad, at that point, wasn't sure how to deal with me. Because he said it was him. He'd probably just done himself in. Because who's going to be around is disabled. I've listened to him say that when he was in my room. I was in the room. He was down. He'd come up to my room every night in Methodist Hospital, drop my mom off, and go down and talk to a total stranger for the next 2 hours because he couldn't deal with it. Come pick my mom up. When it's time to go home, they'd go home. They show up about 6. They leave at 8. That routine went on for 2 or 3 months.
What hospital were you in?
Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis.
Down at Indy, yeah.
And so that went on for about 2 months till I got released. Called him, said I was coming home. It's kind of funny how God, I think the plan was laid out already. My dad was adding on to our house, between our garage and the house, to put on a master suite bedroom for his mother because he feared her husband passed away, and he'd have to take care of her. Well, she passed away before he did, and I got paralyzed at the same time we're building that on. So it turned into my master bathroom, handicap accessible facility, part of the house. So I took that over and stayed there.
So was partying a part of your lifestyle before the accident?
I drank and went out once in a while on the weekends, but it wasn't every night occurrence.
Right. And so talk about, again, I think it's a given, but maybe people need to hear this. So what was going through your mind? So after the accident and you get to this place of like, man, I'm going to be paralyzed. Like
paralyzed for life. It's like, how you deal with it. Now you're thrown into a new culture, and you take a person from their surroundings, and I don't we think race, but we have Mexicans and blacks, and they come into the white world, or we go into their mix, and we feel uncomfortable. Or you run into a group with handicaps, and you don't feel comfortable in that group, and so you're trying to figure out where you fit and what clique. When we all fit in the same clique, we all belong together. We just have to figure. We think there's something there, that keeps us from going in that direction. So, I'm going through this disabled population. I'm going through as disabled, have to learn how to go to places, go to restaurants. Is the bathroom handicap accessible?
Right.
Do they have a place for me to get my chair? Can I get in and out of the building?
Right.
I went to Chili's one time with some friends from after playing with some friends out to Chili's that I was playing ball with. That's how I kind of got involved in sports. But one of the guys I run around with, one of the guys in Huntington County was paralyzed who knew me. I'd known him for years. Kept trying to get me to go out and play basketball with him at the YMCA at Turnstone, Disabled for Adults. Ended up getting involved in that, and we went out to eat one time at Chili's restaurant there right across from the Glenbrook Mall, and he put us at bar-high tables. Here we are, all paraplegics, sitting here with a table here, because Larry wanted to smoke, and that's the only place you could smoke was in that area. I'm like, and we had to park by the donut shop. At that time, there's a donut shop down there by the Pancake House, and we had to park and wheel half the building to get in their building, because they're out front where their front entrance at was at a slope, and they didn't want handicaps parking there because they're afraid they'd lose their wheelchair as well. If I'm going to let my chair go, that's my problem. I keep a hold of it so I want to get out of the car. But so it's interventing yourself into that whole world of change.
Yeah. So when you get into that mindset of like you're dealing with it, so for you. You're saying, because again, you just like, well, I went into 10 years worth of doing drugs. So is that just because you felt like there was no way out?
I didn't know what else to do with myself. First of all, here's the scenario you take is all of a sudden you went from a unit job making I was bringing home about $400 a week to a Social Security check of $700 a month. Okay. Paying child support. And I could go to the bar and get drunk and the people didn't care. As long as I was buying, they were drinking.
Right.
And I went down and I was buying. I mean, I'd spend money at one bar and this bar, and I had a bar tab at the old Heidelberg, and then I'd go and pay that with my check. When it came in, Social Security check, pay that off and start all over again. So it was an easy out for me to fall into that group.
Right.
I talk about the homeless population in our area. They're more comfortable in the bar scene than they are in one of the restaurants in Applebee's, than they would be in Applebee's, because they don't feel like they fit in with that crowd.
Right.
So I go in this crowd here that took me in.
Right.
And that's where I end up at.
Right.
Okay. We see the kids are on the streets right now. They're going to the population that lets them fit in. Because they don't want to obey these rules and these rules. So let's go where these rules aren't. So in the bar scene and the party scene, nobody cares as long as you're partying and supplying and doing what you need to do. You're just one of those people.
So was there anybody in your life that, like, during that time that was like, hey, this probably isn't a great idea?
No.
No?
No.
No one?
Nobody trying to push me the other direction.
Really?
Because I'm bullheaded anyways, but I don't ever recall that, because they just let me do what I want to do, because it's easier than try to persuade me not to, or bring it up in my face saying, hey, you're going to be paralyzed the rest of your life. You're going to do this and this. I think that's where God coming to me as a point saying, you got to stop this. It just came, it's just like I said, when I got ready to commit suicide, the light bulb went off. My daughter's face appeared in front of me. It's like, how are you going to leave her, and how's she going to feel that you're worried about all this, but now you're going to take off and just leave her?
Yeah, so through that journey, I mean, again, during that time, was there ever like, this isn't a good idea? Like, I should probably do something different?
No, because I had everybody I was running with were partiers. So they didn't care. We were life of the party. I mean, we'd go down to the bar. Most of the people I ran with would get off work off second shift. I had one guy at work at GM, get off second shift. He'd meet me at the bar at 2 o'clock. We'd party until they closed the bar up and go to his place to party. And during the day, I had somebody meet me in the afternoon. After I got out of school at 2 in the afternoon, I'd be at the bar. We'd party until 3 o'clock in the morning every day, 365 days a year.
And you never really got to the place where you're like,
Didn't grow up.
man,
I
I just don't.
I got
feel
no
like this is-
responsibilities.
Huh?
I didn't have no responsibilities.
No, I know,
grow
but
up,
sometimes you hear in people's stories, like I did it for a while, and then I just kept thinking this is not the right place to go, but I just keep doing it anyway.
No.
Like you had no,
I didn't ever get to that point.
yeah,
I was living, because I've looked at what's our ultimate goal in life, and when you're not, if you're not a Christian, I'm not saying that's about all Christians, non-Christians, but we work for success.
okay,
And what do we call success? When we do what we want to do, right? When I can do what I want to do and money's not the issue. Guess
Okay.
what? They give me $1,700 a month between my Social Security and my working comp to do whatever I wanted to. So, and a lot of guys, when I'm growing up, the group I ran, the families, the people I knew, going off after work and having a couple beers and going down to the bar and hanging out for a while was the life normal. You know, going out for appetizers, going to the, have a few drinks and go, that was the lifestyle people thought that they should have because that was, we've reached it, and I don't think we realize that's not reaching it.
because you would say most people's success journey
Right.
would be to do whatever I want
Yeah,
to do.
yeah. If I only got the money, I can do what I want, and if that's sitting around, have a few cocktails in the afternoon, that's my business. I'm going to go on a golf course and play some golf and drink a few beers. That's my business.
Yeah.
And I don't know where society runs that into that, but I think we look at the people who are wealthy that aren't Christians, that don't have anything wrong with drinking. That's their social hour. They go socialize somewhere for the next few hours after they get off work and go home and start a night all over.
Right. Yeah.
So, we run across the board that direction, but
So for you, you felt like I'm successful because I
Yeah.
get to do whatever I want.
do whatever I want.
You had no.
at 28 years old, I had money coming in and didn't have to go to work to get it.
No, so I'm just trying to build this thing. I mean, I think
know.
it's completely interesting
Right.
that. So it just must be everybody around you where it's like, I mean, yeah, Bob's completely successful.
Yeah, Bob's got it made.
That's what I'm trying to run through my mind. I'm like, nobody would have thought like that's a bad idea.
One of the girls I dated when I got paralyzed broke up because I got paralyzed. She couldn't deal with this paralyzation because she couldn't run and jump. We couldn't go do certain things,
Right.
because it's a little bit different. I ran to her about 4 years later, and I had a blazer, and I was at a concert. She goes, I really screwed up. I go, what? She goes, you got everything you want. And here I am still struggling trying it. Because all she seen was me having a good life because I had the vehicle. I had a Camaro. I had a Blazer. I had an apartment. I had everything that I could want as
Right.
far as I knew.
Right.
And the money was coming in the door from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just hard to fathom because I keep thinking about
Right.
this in life. It's hard to fathom that nobody around you or people, because in general, just use it as a general statement.
Let's use society. I'm going to use my homeless population that I work with on a regular basis. Nobody wants to get to know them. They just don't want to deal with that problem. It's not my problem. I'm not going to deal with it. It's Bob's problem. I don't want to deal with it because I don't want to get my hands dirty because if I screw up, it's going to be my fault. How many people jump out and help people out of the blue for any reason at all? A lot of times they don't. They don't want to build that situation. You got a family falling apart. We don't want to dirty our hands with trying to go in there. I watch the ministry. I watch a lot of facilities will throw us money just so they have to deal with the situation. Like right now we're looking at doing a winter shelter. We've been asked to do a winter shelter, which we had 4 years ago, but nobody wants to undertake it because they don't want to dirty the hands of that population.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of so I mean, we live in the Bible Belt of America.
right.
I mean, this is Huntington,
I know.
Indiana. So I'm sitting here thinking there was nobody in the community to be like, hey, Bob, that's probably like a bad idea, or hey, you should come to church.
Not
or,
that I
hey,
ever recall, but I was drunk too for 10 years.
But you know what I'm saying.
I mean,
like,
I was thinking your family. I'm like, did your
Well,
mom and dad
my mom and
know,
dad
or
weren't sure.
your
They weren't sure how to
brothers
deal with
and
it.
sisters
They were
know,
afraid. They were
or-
afraid
Yeah.
I'd do something wrong, and they'd say the wrong thing, and I'd go out and do something stupid. I think there's that double-edged sword. Do I step in between that relationship and try to tell him what to do with his life?
Sure.
And he says,
or just let him go.
yeah, or just let him go. Let him figure it out.
Wow.
How many people we have out there in our society walk around just trying to figure it out? It's scary.
Yeah.
And you start looking at
Well,
numbers,
this is
probably.
because this is what I've said all the time. Like, I think the disconnect, we had this discussion last
Right.
night at men's group. So the disconnect is, so we can learn all we want about scripture, but if you don't apply it out into the world,
don't
it
apply it
doesn't
out
make
in the
any
world, does it?
difference. And there were some people that were like, I just thought the whole idea is that I should come and get fed, and that in my feeding, I can learn more and know more. And I'm like, I don't
Doesn't
feel
he say
like,
you're known by your fruits?
yeah, but that,
If you don't go out and produce fruits, if you just sit there and get all the knowledge, I could have all the knowledge in the Bible, but if I don't walk it and work it and do it, it does no good to me.
no, and I think, but for them, it was like for them innocently,
Like,
because they
right,
really
right,
just didn't
right.
know. I
It's
mean, these are people
yeah.
that like, you just give your life to Christ, and people are like, well, the thing you need to do is you need to know more about the Bible, and you need to read, and you need to study, and you need to do. And I'm like, yes, you need to do those things, but back to what you're saying. So if outside of the walls and all the way around, and maybe even in the walls, are hurting people,
Yes.
and Christians don't want to get to know them. That's the case that I'm trying to
Yeah.
build. Like
Well,
the case I'm
exactly.
trying to build is, when we came to Huntington, there were 110 churches in Huntington.
Right.
There are 110 churches. When you're nobody,
18,000 population.
nobody
Yeah.
in these 110 churches would ever be like, I'm going to get to know Bob and spend time with him, with the opportunity, hopefully, to share Jesus Christ with him. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No.
That's what's
And I think
amazing
that's what
to
we're
me.
missing.
And that's what you're saying
I think
is
that's
happening.
what we're missing across the board. And that's where I
Right.
think our food ministry, our ministries have worked in, because we're taking a part of these people's lives. It's kind of funny because I've been running the food ministry downtown for 10 years, overseeing it. It's been running for 20, but I've been overseeing it for 10 years. And I get phone calls from people that see Joey on the street or Sam on the street or Susie on the street and want to know about him. I said, well, go talk to him. Oh, wait. What? Step outside these four walls? My comfort zone? My little bubble?
Right.
And I know every one of them. I know exactly where they've been. I know what they're doing drug-wise. I know where they're staying. I know trying to help them find out what their goals are to get them to the next level.
Right.
My job as a Christian is to, like you said, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. How's life treating you? What's going on? Well, yeah, I got this. And people are afraid to ask that because they don't want to hear the story.
Right. So you're saying that's where you were. It's like nobody, like, hey, listen, let Bob go.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I explained the other day. I talked the other day about when I first got paralyzed. I was probably one of, I was quite a few people with disabilities in town. But when I come home from the hospital, I didn't stay home. I got my wheelchair out and I went to the north end and back. I wheeled through town and oh my gosh, it's like you're out on the streets. You're wheelchairing around. I had a friend of mine who was in a chair, went to the mall in Fort Wayne. Some lady walked up and smacked him in the face and said, what do you think you're doing out here? You don't need to be out here. You're disabled. You shouldn't be out in the public. Back in several years, back day, that if you had a disabled child that was born disabled, you didn't go out in because people looked at you've sinned somewhere.
yeah, right.
Okay? So we don't take our child. We don't take them anywhere. Maybe the church, that's about it. We don't take them
Right.
outside the house.
Right.
We're breaking that wall down little by little.
Right.
The community population. I mean, I go down to the coffee house to hear that the Pathfinders puts on. I try to make it out at least once a month. Those kids are just ecstatic, and adults are ecstatic about me coming in.
Right.
Because they get to see a new face. Somebody comes in and says hi to them. Somebody talks to them. Somebody treats them like a person. And that's where our society's lost itself. My mom and dad have lived in our house since '79. We knew every neighbor in the neighborhood in the first 5 years we'd lived there. Probably couldn't tell you right now who lives next door down the road or anything because we don't walk outside our four walls to find out because they change too much.
Right.
And Joey's living his lifestyle. I'm going to stay away from his house. I don't have anything to do with it. He might get me for trespassing. I'm like, no, and we're worried about crossing that line because guys laying on the street having a heart attack. I'm not going to help him because, oh my God, if he dies, they're going to sue me.
Right. Right.
I had a homeless guy I was working with that trying to get him off the streets, get him out of alcohol. I didn't ever get him off alcohol, but he would walk by the food ministry down we had on Franklin Street and walk by every day and just look at me and look in, and then finally come in one day and eat. He'd come in, sit down, hands over his coffee, and I said, how you doing? Okay. So I get out of him for almost 3 months. And then he walked in one day, hey, I'm so-and-so. And give me his name and stuff. He says, I'm glad you're here. And, he was drunk, but, I didn't say anything. I don't say anything about it because you don't want to bag them about what they're doing. You want to show them different directions. And I said, I talked to him, found out he was a vet. And I said, hey, why don't you go to the vet and see about getting some help to get a place and all, get off the streets. oh, they just want me to go back to work. I said, you're 80, 70 years old. They're not going to make you go back to work.
Right.
I got him hooked up with VA. They got him a check. We put him into an apartment complex that took everything out on top of that. He still drank. 4 years ago now, it's been probably around July. What's July 4th? He was down. I took him down for breakfast, drop him off at breakfast. He'd go to the Market Street Bar and Grill because he felt comfortable in the bar area, have breakfast. And I was getting a haircut, and I said, I've got a haircut. When I get down, I'll pick you up. Well, he sat in the corner. And I went to get him, and, put him in my truck. He almost fell getting in my truck. Put him in my truck and drove him home. I thought he fell asleep. I thought, he's hacking and so forth, which is not uncommon with him. And he died right there in my truck. And it was kind of crazy to see that happen. But the same token, I made him get off the streets finally. Got him into a place. He didn't ever quit drinking.
Right.
Because he didn't have a reason to. Because his family had all vanity.
Right.
I think that's where we run into is the society just doesn't want to dirty their hands.
Yeah. So in general, something we need to work on. So when you're going through that period, you talk about suicide. Was that in the middle? Was that at the end?
That was at the end.
That was at the end.
Very end.
What got you to that place?
I had enough. I just realized that I was, I didn't have what you're talking about. Somebody saying, hey, here's what you need to look at doing. Let's change your life. Let's do this.
Right.
Because I had a high school degree. I had a college degree in Bachelor of Recreation Therapy. I worked at Turnstone doing disabled coach and wheelchair basketball for competitive for 20 years. Volunteer base. Didn't work pay-wise. Volunteer base. I was running back and forth that. I was working part-time jobs off and on here and there. Because society sets you up. When you get put on Social Security disability, if you make over a certain amount of money, you lose all that. Well, if you're starting a job out, you're not guaranteed insurance for 90 days. And then you make over that amount of money, you've lost your Social Security disability, and then you have to go back and fight for it.
Right.
Instead of cutting us off little by little until we get up to that paycheck we're making.
Right.
And of course, Social Security checks are all tax-free. When I'm working, I'm paying taxes.
Right.
But they're looking at the gross, not the net.
Right.
But we don't want to benefit that. We have to figure out how to help that past that situation.
Right.
So it's better off just leave him alone, let him do his thing. And that's what a lot of people look at. Why do I want to get involved in it?
Right.
Which brings us to our ministries. I started, my pastor come to Fort Huntington, and he wasn't planning on working in Huntington, being a pastor in Huntington, but he's been here now.
Well, how'd you get saved first? How did that work? Like, how did Jesus come into your life at all?
I'm going to tell you, this pastor, and what really got me was, he was one of these that would do a scripture story type thing, and he would take somebody and put them in a spot and start talking about them. I went to church, started going to church, and I started just because my buddy asked me. I just thought I called him.
Sorry,
I know.
Why did you go to church?
Well, no, I'm just saying he wasn't going at all.
I wasn't going at all. And then all of a sudden,
buddy.
you're right, exactly. I wasn't going to church at all. I had a buddy that went to church, kept inviting me to church every so often.
You get to the place where you want to commit suicide.
Why do you want me to go to church? You go to church and you still go out and parties on Friday and Saturday nights, and you're going to church on. I didn't see that walk. I'm going.
Right.
Okay, so I go on Sunday, forgive my sins, and go back out and party Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't see any reason to go to church, sit in the pew for 2 hours, and listen to somebody talk about God, and then turn around and go get drunk.
Right.
Wasn't.
So what changed your mind and made you go?
What happened was I was going with him on a regular basis, and this pastor had opened their doors up. Finally, he got his own church started.
No, wait. So what made you go to church though? Because these are always the things that interest me.
I just had a buddy who picked me up and went every Sunday.
Okay, so somebody finally.
When I went to church. When I went to church with him, I would say 25% of the congregation I personally knew.
Okay.
That went to church, I didn't know was Christians.
Right. But
that's what scares you.
But somebody finally came into your life that says,
he invited me to church every Sunday, and I did for a while there, and I didn't go.
Right. But again, before we're talking about nobody cares, I guess I just want to have people to see this.
I wouldn't say he didn't care.
No, that's
cares, but he just seen an outlet.
I put those words in your mouth.
Okay.
You didn't say that.
But
I'm saying people didn't want to get their hands dirty. They didn't want to do.
Right.
Finally, somebody says, "Hey, I'm gonna pick you up and I'm gonna take you."
Well, I called him and asked him what time church started. After I went to commit suicide, he'd been talking about going to church with me every so often. Okay. I just never did.
So once you got to that lowest point in your life,
yes.
What made you think I need to go to church?
I guess God, my daughter's face appeared in front of me, which was just freaked me out, probably. Yeah. And it had to be God, somebody doing that, because there's no way my daughter's perfectly good face with right in front of my mirror before I put my car in the reservoir, Huntington Reservoir.
Right.
And as soon as I got that, I said, okay. It's like, how do I explain to her I don't love her and I'm leaving?
Right. Because here's my theory. I guess this is what I was trying to get to. So my theory is that God is always drawing.
Yes.
Right? Because he's the one who says, like, I draw mankind. Like, I'm the one who's going to wake them up. Like, whatever those
Sooner or
things.
later I'll have you.
Yeah. Then the question always is when people finally, because I think he probably was trying to draw you all the way through.
Right.
But this finally worked.
Yeah.
And then what do I do with that? Right. So then that's the people that you know that are in your life or nowhere to go. Then there is a place to be able to do that. So you're like, I can go to a church. I know a guy because the guy's been inviting me.
Right.
A guy's been talking to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go to this church and I knew 25% of the people there
Yeah.
that I didn't know were Christians.
Right.
I run into Christians quite a bit that I never knew were Christians
Right.
in my childhood growing up. Because the way they act outside those four walls.
Right.
They're still cussing, they're drinking, they're doing whatever, they're going to church on Sunday.
Right.
And they're calling themselves Christians.
Right.
And, you know, each one of us have our own walk. I get that. I understand it. And it's like, so, you know, that light bulb went off and I started going to church with him. And then my pastor was doing on sin. And he put a black mask on me and had me face the crowd.
On you?
Yeah. Sitting there looking at the crowd and he's talking about sin. And everything he talked about, I had been doing. The drugs, alcohol, and sexual relationships without a marriage and all this and divorced. And I'm like, why is he discussing my personal life to everybody?
Right.
He didn't know me. He didn't know my personal life. But I've been walking all those things. And that's when I said, I got to change this. You know, I got to do something here. You know, like I said, I was drinking on a regular basis, 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 3 o'clock in the morning, 365 days a year. And I just went down to the altar about 2 months after that and went down and just gave my life to Christ and taken it away.
Wow. That's
And-
awesome.
I haven't touched a drop in 25 years.
Seriously?
Have not touched a drop of alcohol in 25 years.
Wow.
No temptation to drink 25 years. To tell you the truth, I have $3,000 worth of Jack Daniels sitting in my house of full bottles. That's
your
never
house
been
right now?
touched. At my house, it's never been touched.
Wow.
How do you get rid of that collection, first of all? Because it's got alcohol in it. Not that I don't want it. I don't want it, but it's full of alcohol. So how do you sell it? Because legally you can't sell it without having a liquor license.
Okay.
So it's all sitting there until somebody decides that they want it for a man cave, and I just sell them the whole 9 yards, but they
Right.
don't know I got it. But
Right.
somebody says, why do you, because when the house I lived in, I had it set up on a ledge around the pool table. And I said, that's hell. I can look up there and know that's hell. I don't want anything to do with it ever again. And I'm afraid that somebody says, well, have you ever had a drink? I said, no, I haven't had a drink in 25 years.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid if I start, I don't know when I'll stop.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't have any desire to.
Yeah.
And I played cards with some guy one time. And I was sitting there and he was drinking Jack Daniels. Sat beside me. I said, either you got to leave or move, or I got to leave. Because that sweet aroma is just hitting me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to deal with it.
Right. Right. So you get saved.
Right.
So take us from that point on.
Okay. So I get saved, and I'm coaching wheelchair basketball at a competitive level. Turnstone Disabled Center for Adults and Kids.
So you were like a really good
basketball
basketball player?
I coach basketball at a competitive level. My team was ranked number 2 in the nation in 2007.
Wow.
I took 4 kids from our team, made it to Australia in 2007 for the U.S. Gold Cup team. 4 of 12 kids that went
Wow.
from our team. So I coach at a very competitive level. Turnstone Disabled Center Adults up there in Fort Wayne has built around that whole program from the sports from that particular event for me doing my internship there. They didn't have any sports to start there. So I was doing that. I got saved. I was doing that. I was coaching basketball up there. I was running back and forth, working in the real estate business a little bit. And my pastor decided, we had a food ministry up already, and the person who was in charge of the food ministry decided that he was going to take over our finances and needed somebody to take over the food ministry.
Okay.
So I stepped into that role 10 years ago. It's kind of funny how God makes changes about every 7 years of my life, it seems like. Because at that particular time, Turnstone didn't have a team to travel because they didn't have enough kids that age to travel. So that stopped. So I started taking over the food ministry. Our office downtown had a fire next to us, which caused our office to close down for temporary. My boss, who was my boss at that time, broker, had a stroke, and Cole Banker threw me in the management position. So now I manage Cole Banker's office. I run a food ministry, oversee the food ministry. I coach basketball to YMCA now, so I'm now integrated back into Huntington.
Right.
Everything I'm doing is Huntington related.
Right.
So our food ministry.
So why did the church start the food ministry? Like, how did the food ministry ever get started, and what were they trying to get done?
Our church, our pastor, Jimmy Staten, had a vision from God that he was to have a women's shelter, a men's shelter.
Did he plant that church?
He planted that church.
Right. When was that?
It's been almost 25 years ago.
Okay.
He planted that church. He left Gospel Community as a youth pastor and planted that church.
Gospel Community
which is over on.
Oh, so it was in Huntington.
Yeah, it's in Huntington. It's the smallest little church here in Huntington. He left that church to start his own church. Went to that direction. He had a vision to have a youth ministry, have men's shelter, women's shelter, a food ministry, and an orphanage.
And is that because there was in his past, like, or is that just something like nothing I ever thought?
Just
nothing was ever there. Just get this vision from God.
He had no desire to be in Huntington County and had no vision to ever do that.
Because he's not from Huntington.
He's not from Huntington. He's from Waynedale.
Okay.
His dad and mom owned a lawn care business in Waynedale. He went to church on the Sunday church bus.
Okay.
Parents didn't go. Dad was a drinker and cusser and swearer. And they actually all got saved on the same day. He ended up talking to go to church. They went to church. Dad, mom, and the whole family got saved that day.
Right.
And from that point, his dad got involved in traveling, singing music for gospel communities and churches and so forth. His sister-in-law, mom, dad, and a couple other people traveled all over doing music. Jimmy started running the church, had the vision to have a men's shelter. And that's what the vision was from God that he had.
A men's shelter, a women's shelter,
an orphanage, and a food ministry.
Okay.
So we started out with, we started out the food ministry with no money. That was probably the easiest thing to do because we could just do it in the basement of our church. It had a commercial kitchen in it. So we was going to open it up down there. And so we started.
So the concept was to feed, the concept was relationships,
Just
the
to
concept.
feed the people and get to know them.
Okay.
And build a relationship with them and try to get them involved. Feeding people real food versus a God feeding food, a word. And so by getting them in the building and start getting to know them and work the system. So we opened it up in our church, in our basement, in our church. And for the first 4 or 5 months, we had hardly anybody come in. One, 3, maybe 4 or 5 people max at tops.
And where are these people coming from?
All over downtown Huntington area. They're all within walking distance of Huntington, most of them.
Okay.
Some of them drive in, but they walk in. So we took the ministry from there and moved into where the U building's at right now. There used to be a bookstore slash store there at one time, Christian bookstore, and one time it was a little cafe. We took that spot over and put our food ministry in there. We went from 3 to 4 people up to 20, about 10 to 15 right away. Because now we're out of the church. We're not in the basement. We're on the main floor. So we started
because you think the church had
the church had a lot to do with it.
people wouldn't come to eat at a
didn't want to
church.
get saved. Well, I don't walk into church. It might fall in, or they may talk to me about
I
Christ.
might fall
The
in.
church might fall in. How many times she said, "Well, I can't go to church; it'll fall in. It'll catch on fire." How many people have you ever heard say that?
I have heard a few people
All the
say
time.
that.
Oh, if I go there to sin, I've done that. Church will fall in. It's not going to fall in. I tell you right now.
Yeah,
it's
right.
never going to fall in.
Yeah.
Unless God wants it to fall in. That's because the church isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
That's where it comes down to play. But so we realized that they didn't want to come in because I think they were worried about getting thumped by the Bible.
Sure.
So let's don't go there as a church. So when we put it outside the church, even though it was called New Life Ministries Food Ministry, that didn't bother them because it was in the public building. It wasn't no Bibles there was no pews, and it was the open building.
Right.
So in that perspective, we were there for, I'd say 3, 4, maybe 5 years, and the building was lost to tax evasion. They didn't pay their taxes, so the city county took it over, and we had to move out. The building we're in now used to be Barnhart Brown Rouse Shoe Store back in the day. If you're not familiar with Huntington, but
Brown
that's what
who?
it was. Brown and Rouse Shoe Store.
Do you know this shoe store, Jennifer?
Yes.
I do.
Jennifer was raised in Huntington County.
gosh.
Brown and Rouse Shoe Store was the elite shoe store to go get your Sunday school shoes for Sunday church. Well, we took on to the Brown and Rouse building, which became Bartram's tax office, and they had on the market to sell it. Bartram's tax office was going to sell the building. She couldn't get it sold. The owner got Alzheimer's. The daughter stepped in, took over the building, said put it in the auction, sell it, absolute dollar, whatever we get, it's done. It was on the market for $85,000. We ended up buying it for $33,000. Nobody came to the auction to buy it, so we owned both those buildings for $33,000. The moral of the whole story is we went to the bank, got a loan, approved for $30,000. Another one of the guys who has a business in Waynedale at that time, going to church, said, I got to give you another $3,000. So we went to $33,000. The hammers dropped. We bought it in 30 days. $40,000 cash come from over the United States and paid for the building. We didn't
Really?
even go get the loan. That has been
All
the
over
story.
all over the United States. Like how
Because our ministry where it's been, we have ministry teams coming in from Illinois, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida. They come in to do our ministries. We put out looking for ministry workers, and these people are looking for outreach ministries in the area and staying in the United States. They end up coming to us. We do
Meaning
4
it's
or
like a
5
mission
ministries.
trip?
Mission trips. We do 4 or 5 mission trips a year coming to our facility. Every one of our buildings has been rehabbed or taken over and done by mission teams coming in.
Did you know Huntington, Indiana was a destination for
I
mission
had
trips?
no idea.
Yes, we
No, yeah.
we sponsor about on average 4 ministry teams a year, mission teams a year to come up here and work ministry work. They want to work the food ministry and they help rehab our churches and buildings. Our women's shelter, the women's shelter we bought for $50 through a commissioner sale, a house for $50.
Okay.
They came in and rehabbed it completely. So we have very little into it because one church out of Illinois showed up and they brought money and everything else and they put a bunch of money into it and rehabbed it and built it up. We bought the first one we bought for $25, which was pretty much rehabbed. We fixed it up, cleaned it up a little bit, and we bought the second one for $50, and we rehabbed it. We just bought the men's shelter about 2 years ago that we have behind our church. We bought it for $25,000, and then we just bought the orphanage house for $65,000 that was going to go on the market for $98,000. The guy who was working on it said he felt a call to come over and talk to us, offered it to us for $65,000. We had to have the money in a week, or he'd put it on the market. Same thing happened again. Every building we bought has been paid for from donations because we're working with God what He wants done. Mm-hmm. I know that because I run the food ministry for 10 years. We have 6 commercial upright freezers, which are 3 foot by 6 foot tall. Mm-hmm. There's 6 of those in there, stocked full of meat. There's 3 upright regular freezers in my other room, stocked full of meat. I've been running the food ministry for 10 years, and I have never bought a meat product once. There's a meat product served with every meal, every night, 365 days a year. The ministry serves roughly 20,000 meals a year. We'll be close to 36,000 meals this year due to we now are carrying lunch hours from 12 to 1. We're doing supper hours 5 to 6, 6 to 7 during the week, and on the weekends 5 to 6. We, as of the first year, have now included carryouts. So if you come and eat lunch and you're there and you've got 3 kids at home or 4 kids or 2 kids, you can take whatever amount of meals you want home with you during dinner and supper. On the average, we're doing about 40 meals during the day for lunch hours between carryouts and dining in, and roughly 60 meals at night. I look for the meals in the evenings go up to about 100 for carryout and dining in.
And so all of it from the perspective of people that serve at it, food that comes in, all the stuff that goes with it, it's just all volunteer.
All volunteers. There's not a paid staff member at all.
And no money to make it run.
Except for what comes in through the doors from donations.
But the donations are used to buy the food.
Buy the food. I spend $300 a month, and that $300 a month usually buys Kool-Aid, coffee, paper towels, napkins, that kind of stuff, and vegetables. Meat products, like I said, I haven't bought a meat product in 10 years because the donations from different caterers, different organizations that buy, some businesses that buy hams for their company. They buy 100 hams, they give away 65 of them, and they donate the rest of them to us. And the people who get those for Christmas gifts from the factories, turkeys and hams, don't want them. They bring them to us. Caterers bringing us food. Donations from all over Huntington County. And money from all over the United States.
Yeah, so let's talk about the food ministry. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we talked about before, so that the idea was feed people so you could feed people. Right. So that's the vision of the new life, right? Is if you feed people, you can feed people.
Well, yeah, because what happens when the people come in the door, first of all, getting them in the door is the first problem.
Right.
We get them to come in the door.
It is a problem?
Just getting them to come in the door, because a lot of people don't want to walk in the door because, oh my gosh, if I walk in here, they're going to know I'm financially in trouble or I'm homeless, and I don't want to show that burden to anybody. Our human nature doesn't want anybody to know we're in that point of our life.
Okay.
So we try to stay away from it.
Okay.
But what we need them to realize that we're not here for them to get on Skid Row. We want them here before they get on Skid Row. Mm-hmm. Before they're down and out, we want them to come see us.
Right.
Because here's where my philosophy is. Senior citizens are on fixed income. Mm-hmm. They've got their utility bills, which are not going down. Their rent's not going down. Mm-hmm. They got those bills to worry about. If they come into our ministry and eat, 2 meals, that's $10 a day on the minimum. That's 300. That's at 365 days a year. That's 3,005. We save them that they're going to put towards their bills. Okay, take a family of 5 or a family of 4. The money they're saving by just eating the meals. Now I have a senior citizen come in one day, and it was the end of the month. He says, "I'll see you in 2 weeks." I go, "What do you mean?" "Well, I'm good for 2 weeks." I said, "What do you mean you're good for 2 weeks?" "My Social Security check's here, so it'll get me through my next 2 weeks." I said, "Stop. Quit buying groceries. Quit buying food. Come down here on lunch hour. Come here for supper hour. Put the rest of that money towards your bills." So now he comes down every day and eats dinner and supper. But getting them past the 4 wall, getting them to walk into the wall, just like trying to get them to come to church. It's the same thing. They don't want to come to church because the walls are going to fall down, or they're going to, somebody's going to make fun of me, or they're going to beat me up, or whatever. And if you walk into the ministry and you come in there and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, they're going to want to know 40-minute questions. Why are you here? Don't you have any money? What's going on?" And then they start feeling down about themselves again. Their pride keeps them from coming to the door. Okay, we got to break that pride barrier to say, "You know what? I need it, and I don't care. I can't let my family go hungry.
Right.
I need to come here." There's no reason anybody in Huntington County should be going hungry. No reason at all. Because somebody should be able to pick up your food and bring it to you. If you got a senior citizen at home who's locked at the house and can't go out, what keeps their family members from just stop swinging by and grabbing 2 to-go meals, dropping off mom and dad?
Yeah, what does? I
have no idea.
Again, the thing that I'm trying to figure out
me.
is, so what are the barriers? Because we had blessings in a backpack
Right.
on. So, and I would hear people say that there are kids that go home that are hungry.
Yes.
What's keeping the parent from taking him to a meal ministry that will feed him 7 days a
Pride.
week?
Pride.
Really?
Or they're not home.
Oh.
Because mom and dad may be working second shift. Mom and dad may be alcoholic and drug addicts. Mom and dad are split. Who's got the kids? The kids might be walking the streets because they don't want to live at mom's house. They want to live at dad's house.
If a kid's walking the streets, can they come in and eat?
Anybody.
They
When I
don't-
first started, I was concerned about having kids there without parents.
Yeah.
But we changed that. I said, anybody comes in the door gets to eat. So I've got kids that stop in. I've got kids that run around downtown that come in. They'll stop in to eat. And I see them out and about. I'll pull them in the party shop, buy them a cap, some candy or something. And
Right.
build that relationship with them.
Right.
Coaching basketball to why builds me the relationship with those kids. Getting to know those kids, getting to know those people. I don't care why they're on those streets.
Sure.
How do I help them get off those streets or show them that somebody loves them?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I was trying to get to. So churches, I would assume, and or Christian people would want to figure out how to help. So one of the ways is, Life Church gives money, and then Life Church, don't we send people, like, how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a team that goes every 3rd Thursday
Okay.
down there, and then we have a group of ladies who are there every other Wednesday, maybe for lunch. I don't know. We have a couple times
Yeah.
that we're
So
down
is
there.
that how that's something that churches do?
That's how churches get involved financially. They can financially support. They can buy materialistic things for the place. They can buy paper products and so forth. I have some call me up for that. And they can also get involved as far as working the ministry, coming down there and filling in the hours.
Right.
I'm blessed to say that I have no problem filling my volunteer schedule.
Right.
I have more volunteers waiting to get on board than I have volunteers wanting to leave.
Right. So as a volunteer, is the idea not only to serve the meal, but to build a relationship?
What I like to see is enough volunteers down there that we got enough to take care of doing all of what needs to be done.
Okay.
And some other volunteers walk around just talking to Joe and Sam and Susie and all of them saying how
Right.
they're doing, what's going on.
So does that work?
Yes.
It does. So
Yes.
so
We've got people who have been to come to the food ministry who are on the streets. Once I start talking to them, getting to know them, we get them into our men's shelter, our women's shelter, or get them heading the right direction.
right. But
Okay.
I'm saying for people that are coming volunteer, not does the ministry work, because I know the
Right.
ministry works.
Right.
I'm saying from when volunteers come down there, because this is what we said before, and I want to see if this helps break the barrier. What we said before is people don't want to get their hands dirty.
Right.
Right. So in that, are there people that are coming down that are meeting with these people, sitting with these people, getting their hands dirty and helping them?
Yes. You start seeing more of it right now because they start realizing I could be in that spot. And this guy needs a helping hand. He needs somebody cares. Needs somebody knows that we got their back. Mm-hmm. When somebody comes in new off the streets, comes in our ministry for the first time to eat, I make sure I go and talk to them. Say, hey, just want to let you know, thank you for coming in. We have a free meal every night, and we have supper. I'll let them know about the schedule. I said, and if you need anything else, talk to me. But if you don't ask for Christ in your life, you'll never get him. If you don't ask for something, you may not ever receive it.
Right.
Okay? because I know there's the laundry ministry going on right now that the well does. They take care of you can go up to first Tuesday and third Tuesday of every month from 5 to 7, get your laundry done for free. We do personal hygiene bags at our place once a month. You can pick up a personal hygiene bag. We get a free meal down here every night. We got laundry ministries out there. We've got pet food ministries out there. But what it takes is all of us working together, and we have to know about those ministries, first of all, and we have to break the barrier. Well, how's it promoting my church? How's it benefiting me? It's not to benefit me. When I started doing the ministry, when we first started doing it, I was amazed and astonished at how many people were like, well, how's it going to benefit me? Well, why should our church help your church? What's it doing for us? How's it putting our name out there? We don't promote our name. We don't promote New Life Fellowship Church in our facility. We pray before the meals, and we talk to people. And we lead them to what they may want or need, and hopefully they say, where do you go to church at? Or maybe they'll ask you where they go to church at, or you offer to them, say, we had a Super Bowl party at our church. So I'd say, hey, by the way, if you don't have anything going on tonight, you want to go to a Super Bowl party? You're more than welcome to stop in dinner. Well, we don't go to church there. I said, I don't care. They don't care.
Right.
You want to come eat, sit down and watch the game, you got a place to go. It's opening our doors to the people in need without questioning what they need and why they're there. Don't badger them, just help them. The hardest thing we have to do is can I have $20? I need $20, Bob. You ask me for $20, and I hand you $20, and then you come back next week and you want another 20. You come back next week and you want another 20.
Right.
And I finally quit doing that because I had money. I didn't have money, but I always had cash money, and I was always giving it away. So I quit taking cash money. I said, so if you come in and you're getting hey, I'm getting a job, and I kind of have pants and I got to have some shoes. Okay. I get off work at 7. Be here. We'll go up to Walmart and get that taken care of. I need medicine for my kids, or drugs, or have to go pharmacy field. Fine, I'll take you up there and get it. No, well, can you just give me the money? No, that's not how this works.
Right.
Because I want to make sure it's going there. But I also have to learn I don't judge how they spend that money. My philosophy: you take a homeless guy and give him $50, and I'm going to use your panhandlers downtown. You give them $50. What are they going to do with that $50? What would you do if you're on the streets? Well, first of all, I'm going to probably get, if they're a cigarette smoker, they're going to go buy a pack of cigarettes. They're going to go pay for a phone card, and then they're probably going to get something to eat, and they're going to be out that $50. You give me $50 a day, it ain't going to help me down the road, $50 down the road. I'm not going to be able to make $50 here, and there, and pay my rent. Okay? And we got to figure out how to get them past that point that they want to have a reason like me. Instead of committing suicide, I had to change my lifestyle.
Right. But are there more of you? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like when I hear you say all of these things, I'm sitting here thinking, so are you going to be the only one who's taking them to Walmart? Are you the only one picking them up afterwards?
Probably.
Are you the only one going out on the street and doing it?
Not a whole lot of doing it. Not a whole lot of doing it. They're afraid to.
I thought at one time that you weren't allowed to do stuff like that. Like when we'd be down there serving, it's like, don't
want you to become the reason they come down. They come down because they know you're there and they're going to con you out of $20. If they need something, find out how they need what they need. I don't want to say we don't want to help. We want to help them find a way to get where they're at. But if they're in need, they're in need. And I don't. Personally, myself, that's just the way I feel about it. If that guy, I just took some people that got a girl. Well, one of our girls come to our house, didn't have a winter coat, and she needed a winter coat.
But that's my point. So you're saying that people know that, like, if somebody shows up there and they're like, I don't have a winter coat. And Jennifer's down there and she's doing some of the talking. Can Jennifer grab her and take her to go get a winter coat?
That's totally up to Jennifer. I'm not going to stop her.
Yeah, because it's been a while since I've been there because now we do the laundry ministry. And so those kind of conflict a little bit. But, yeah, I remember one of the reverse giving that we did. It was like I had it with me down there. But I thought I can't give it to anybody within the building.
Because
for one
money,
thing,
right.
For one thing, but I did go buy some like sweatshirts for some people before, but I had to go get it and then like meet them afterwards, because it's like I didn't think we could say anything so that people knew that this was happening because everybody's going to want, that more that discreet.
What you have to watch
thing.
about is you come in, I went and bought you a pair of shoes, and everybody in the building knows I bought you a pair of shoes. Well, I need a pair of shoes, and everybody in the building needed a pair of shoes.
Okay,
And they may not need a pair of shoes, but because you're giving them a pair of shoes, you need to give them a pair of shoes, their pair of shoes, and their pair of shoes. I got a guy down there today that says, Bob, when are we going to have steaks down here? I said, Jack, bring me 100 steaks and we'll have steaks. He goes, what do you mean 100? I said, I got to be able to feed everybody.
Right.
If I can fix you a steak, I got to fix everybody else here a steak.
Right.
Okay? And what she's talking about is it's not something I do open and say, hey, by the way, you need shoes, let me know. But I talk to people personally and I'm on a one-on-one basis and help them out.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So if somebody's sitting there, that's what I was trying to figure out. So if I'm sitting there, I'm having a conversation, a guy starts saying like, hey, getting ready to start a job and I'm going to be struggling because I need, and I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take you up to Walmart and we're going to get it.
Yeah.
But you're saying that could cause a problem though, because then everybody comes down there and wants to.
Well, and that's what you have to watch is that they don't take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, once I start handing out 20s, everybody and their brother come in.
No, I get that. I get don't hand out cash.
So you have to worry about that I want to say we don't discriminate.
Okay.
Okay? But we also hold accountability to it. Mm-hmm. I told one kid, he goes, well, I'll get you that $20. I said, you know what? Here's my philosophy in that $20. God gave it to me. I gave it to you. When you get there to talk to God, he'll talk to you about that $20.
Right.
And if you've done right with it, you don't have to worry about it. If you bought drugs with it, then you better talk about it.
Right.
But it's my heart and my desire to do what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And God has blessed me to be able to do what I'm doing because I have everything I need. I'm not filthy rich. Don't get me wrong. Well, you can check my bank accounts. You're not going to find more. You can put all my bank accounts together. You might find $2,000, okay? And that's and I probably owe more than that on credit cards. But I believe whatever I give out, I get back in return from God. He takes care of me. He blesses me with everything I need.
Right.
And he makes sure I don't do without. I'm not living the lift lifestyle. I'm not going out. I don't have a brand new car. I'm driving a 2001 truck in mint condition because I keep it in mint condition.
Right.
But I take care of what I have and I use what I have to my best. And what we have to look at is how they trust you if they don't get to know you. Mm-hmm. I can hand money out all day long. I can buy shoes all day long.
Right.
But if I don't build a relationship with that person, I'm just wasting my time.
No, for sure.
I got to show them why my life's where it's at and what it's doing. And everybody goes, how can you run around town whistling and happy and be in a good mood all the time? I said, what do I got to be sad about? Well, you're in a wheelchair. Yeah. Right. Best thing ever happened to me.
Right.
Why? I could open my eyes up to the world.
Right. Do you see this problem growing in Huntington? Like, is it?
I see this problem growing all over the world. Okay, because of the
right,
drugs,
but we
the
live
alcohol,
here,
and the
though.
lifestyle.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure it here.
Yes.
Like, I would agree. I think
I
we
think
got problems
our whole culture has to change.
Okay.
And our culture has to change to start caring about each other again like we did back 50 years ago.
Okay.
You knew your neighbors. They needed something. You took care of it. You went and got it for them. There's no questions asked. They took care of you. You took care of them. We were one great big neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Okay. I knew everybody. When I grew up on Sunnydale, back when I was a kid, I knew every person within 4-block radius.
Right.
Where they lived at. All those kids knew each other. If Joey needed sugar, my mom got him sugar for their cookies. And if they needed eggs, they went and got it. We're afraid to walk across the street or knock next door to help somebody out because we're afraid if we give them. Well, and I'll look at the ministries. We have people call us, well, I didn't know you could take that. Well,
didn't know you could take what?
Food. Different food.
Got it.
It's a good Samaritan thing, okay? If you give it to me, once it's in my hands, it's my responsibility. If it goes bad and I serve it, then I'm not going to go back and sue you.
Right.
But people are afraid that if I do something for somebody else and something goes wrong, they're going to sue me. Mm-hmm. They're going to go after me for it.
Right.
So they just rather dirty my hands with it, let's just stay out of it.
Right. But you would say, again, the foundation, because let's look at it this way.
Right.
If we did it right, like you would say, 50 years ago.
Right.
So we did it right, and you knew your neighbor, or you knew the people around you, or you got out of your house and went beyond yourself.
Yes.
There would be no need for a food ministry.
No.
Because we would be serving
We'd be serving each other.
We'd be serving each other.
You know, if my mom, we'd have supper. There's 3 or 4 kids would come to our house for supper.
Right.
We're out in the backyard playing. We're having supper time. They'd have supper. There'd be no questions asked.
Right.
I brought home 3 or 4 friends from school. Mom wouldn't even question it.
Right. Right. And that's what I've said all along. I feel like you wouldn't need an orphanage.
No.
If Christian families would take in children.
Yes.
Like you wouldn't need one.
Yeah.
Like
I just
a
had
lot
our
of what
foster home is a young couple in their less than their 30s are now running she quit her job
Right.
to run our foster home.
Right.
Which will hold 4 to 6 kids.
Right. But you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Like if everybody did this, we wouldn't have to
every
create
church in our town would get involved within the community and get involved with their neighborhoods and their people around their neighborhood and help make sure they had what they needed, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
Right.
How many church doors are unlocked during the day? Very few.
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't trust them anymore. They don't trust anybody to come in there. They're afraid they're going to come in and rip them off.
Right.
So they lock the doors up. They don't have the door. When I was growing up, the church doors were unlocked all the time.
Right.
I could walk in the Lancaster church anytime I wanted to, and the door wasn't locked. Pastor was in there, somebody's in there, go in there and talk to.
Yeah, and I would say it goes both ways.
Yeah,
How many
yep.
times are our doors locked at
Yeah,
home?
yeah.
And I say locked, but
Yeah.
no one's welcome.
They're not.
Like,
They're-
don't come over.
Yeah.
We're busy. We're never home.
Yep, yep.
So I think it's a both and. The concept of
Our
what you're
society has took over so much that we're so busy within ourselves, we don't have time for others.
right. And that's what I was trying to get at. Like, we have created a structure of isolation.
Yeah.
Like, we're with people, but we're isolated because we have no time to let anybody in.
Right.
No time to have people over. No time to, again, get to know your neighbor.
Well, and that's where it's at. I try to, when I'm going through Walmart, I didn't get a kick out of people don't get it. My grandkids get a kick out because they say, does everybody in Huntington County know you? Because I say hi to anybody and everybody.
Right.
And sometimes that hi to that person who's walked through there having a bad day doesn't know he even exists.
Yeah.
He don't think you even know he even exists. And you say hi to him, he's like, oh, they did see me.
Right.
There's so many people in this world walking through those halls and those Walmart stores and that nobody even notices they're there. Mm-hmm. Walking through society in their own little world that nobody knows they're there because they don't pay attention to them.
Right.
You know, I think that I feel that I said to Y the other day, coaching basketball, and one of the coaches come, well, there's the number one coach of the YMCA. I said, I'm not the number one coach. Well, all the kids want to play for Bob. They want to be on Bob's team. I said, I'm going to tell you what the foundation of that is. I've been here 5 years at the Y as a volunteer. I run their preseason basketball program and their after pro program for kids learning one-on-one skills. And I coach 2 teams for every game that's played, every time we have gathers. You're going to be here 3 years as a coach. When your son's in 4th grade, you'll no longer be here.
Right.
So they don't know you as a solid foundation person.
Right.
The food ministry, I've been there for 10 years. Everybody knows Bob at the food ministry.
Right.
That foundation's there. They know if they need something, they come talk to me.
Right.
I may not be able to lead them right. I try to help lead them right way, and
Sure.
I can't solve all problems.
Right.
I got people walk in the door think I can pay their rent, pay their house payment, get them on their utilities, get them back on the streets,
Right.
get them off the streets. But we got to find out why they're on the streets. Not because somebody threw you out on the streets, because you didn't pay your bills.
Right.
A lot of them are out there on the streets because they don't want to listen to mom and dad's rules.
Right.
They packed up and moved out because they know better.
Right.
And now they're trying to figure out how to survive.
Yeah. So Jennifer,
They burnt that bridge with drugs and alcohol, and they can't get back in mom and dad's house anymore.
right. Right. So we're at the end, Jennifer. Sorry. Do you have questions?
I don't have
I was
questions.
like-
No.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just jump in. No, that's what we need to do. So,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I'm
So
good. That's good.
again, I'm assuming we have links for people who want to get volunteered to volunteer in the food ministry or be a part
Best
of what
things
you're
to
doing.
get my phone numbers everywhere around town. My email's available. I've got billboards with my name and address on them. Your best thing, if you want to do food ministry, send me your email. Send
Okay.
me your dates. That you want day shift or evening shift. You're going to work lunch hours. Like I said, I'm overwhelmed with volunteers right now. I
Okay.
almost have to fire people to get people to
Okay.
come.
So if you don't need volunteers, what do you need?
Financially, we're looking for paper products for the new carryout stuff.
Okay.
For everything right now, that's going to be our most expensive thing right now. Is the styrofoam containers, 3-part containers, your plastic wrap silver with all the spoons and forks in them, soup bowls with lids on them, styrofoam cups, for the drinks and stuff. That's where our cost is going up now because of paper products for the carryout meals
Yeah. So,
and any kind of food, monetary.
and they can get a hold of you and
Yep.
you can get them down
Yep.
that road.
Yep. Yep.
So with all of the stuff going on, how can we be praying for you as a roundtable people, not just Jennifer and I, but for people that are out there? How can we be
I
praying
think
for
you
you
just pray
personally?
for I think you need to pray for Huntington County, period. That we start looking and caring about our community and our people, and quit worrying about us getting ahead of the game of the world. The world game will never stop. You're going to chase that dream forever.
For sure.
You'll never catch it.
Right.
The dream, the best thing that I ever had happen was to get Christ in my life. and I let him have total control of my life. And spiritually, I am overwhelmed.
Right.
And I'm happy where I'm at, you know. And just I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be there. You work in ministry, you get involved in nonprofit organizations, get involved with ministry work, get involved with people who you're afraid to get involved with lives, and get to know them. You'll realize that you're going to be a plus to them, not a negative.
Right. Right.
Don't look at every time I go into something, what's it going to cost me?
Right. Right.
It may cost you some time.
Well, that's the whole idea, right? So
Yep.
if you're going to be a Christian, it's supposed to cost you
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, you should have.
I mean,
you know,
that's the idea is it's weird to think
the fishermen didn't quit fishing just to go with God because they had more money fishing. They
Right.
made more money fishing than they did going with God.
Right.
But they got served very well.
Right. Yeah, the idea that as a Christian that anything that costs us something we're out on, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
You know, because the Christian life costs us everything.
Yes.
You know, to be able to do it. So,
If you leave this world with nothing, you've done everything right.
yep, I agree. Yeah. So, Bob, we'll be praying for you, obviously, personally, as you try to spread yourself all over the community and be involved in every single person's life that's out there. We're praying.
I love my town. I love the people.
Listen,
in
we'll
this
be
community.
praying that you can reproduce more Bobs, right? Because that's the idea. Like, if we could reproduce more Bobs out there, that would be an answer to the thing we're just saying. To the thing we're saying of, like, we should open our eyes up to the needs of our community. Yeah, we need more people that see and think.
If you're going through the Walmart line and you're leaving Walmart and somebody's having a hard time figuring out how to pay their bill because their credit card's not there,
Yeah,
drop your credit card down.
right?
I've been watching people get amazed. I walk through and the ladies, oh, well, you don't have enough there. I said, here, and I hand the credit card to the lady. She goes, oh, you want to pay for it? I said, just run the whole thing.
Right,
You don't know how much it is. I said, did I ask? Because it's not mine to ask.
right,
God put me in that spot per time for a reason.
right.
Now everybody, brother Walmart, be up there going, I can't pay this. Where's Bob? Hey, I can't pay this.
Bob,
No.
my card quit working.
No.
Or we see Bob's Coldwell Banker vehicle
Or
going to
if-
Walmart.
yeah.
We're like, I got to go in.
If you go, and you'll see it because I park where you can see it. But if you're going through Starbucks, pay for the guy's meal behind you, drink behind you. Going through McDonald's, pick up their meal.
Yeah,
Don't question it
right,
because you made their day,
right,
first of all, and they're thinking, okay, I don't do it for my name. I do it because God says, this person behind you might mean this or whatever. You feel that urge. I use all my Starbucks points, which I have quite a few of them because my granddaughters go to Starbucks all the time. I take them all the time. So I don't use my stars for myself. I use all those credits for behind my people behind me. Yeah, you put theirs on mine.
right,
Start caring about your fellow man
right.
as much as you care about yourself.
There you
If
go.
you don't care about yourself, you better get hooked up with God really quick.
Right. Good final words. So again, when this comes out, when you're watching and or listening, so if you see Bob in town, make sure you go up and say hi, and or if you see him down at the food ministry.
Before I say hi to you.
Yeah, there you go. See if you can win the battle of who says hi. If you want to volunteer or get involved, we'll have a connection if you don't already know how to get involved in the meal ministry and or how to come alongside. But we're just, again, thankful that we can be a part of and that this community of people from the round table, can listen and hear of the things that you're doing and that we can come alongside. And again, I pray too that our eyes will be open, especially in our Christian churches, in our Christian world, that we
Yes.
don't stop seeing what the needs are. We need to get out there and meet them.
Our Christian walk is just not to go to church every Sunday.
Absolutely.
It's to go to church every Sunday, every day,
Absolutely.
and be a Christian every day.
Yeah.
And I thank you for allowing me to come in and talk. We didn't really get down the ministry road too much, but we did. We touched on quite a few things, but just let me know if you need anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you,
Appreciate
when this comes out, make sure you like, comment, or share. That way we can get this story on everybody's timeline. They can see what's going on. And again, if you want to learn more about the ministries, not just the meal ministry, what's going on, get with Bob and he'll be able to help you know in other ways that you can get involved and help with that. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.